about 20 minutes toward the top of the hour on this Tuesday morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live on the phone, I welcome our Cape and Island State Senator Dan Wolf. Senator Wolf, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Joint Committee of Labor and Workforce Development, of which you serve as chair, and read an article recently that said you've expressed a desire to continue chairing that committee. Tell me a little bit about that committee and why it's important to you to continue your leadership of it.
Well, first of all, we'll find out tomorrow, so I don't have to be in suspense much more. The committee assignments, I believe, are going to happen after we go into formal session tomorrow, the second formal session of the year. So that's something to look forward to.
Great.
Two issues. I mean, first of all, it's about labor and work, and then second of all, about workforce development. The main thing, and I've noticed that in the 4 years I've been there, is the switching of committees, which I think happens too frequently, means that legislators really have to start over learning the issues and really what the legislation is in that committee. So part of this for me is about continuity, just because I understand and know the issues so well after 4 years. But the issues specifically are, I think, really at the nexus of what you and I have talked about the last 4 years, Sarah, which is, are there good jobs there? Are people adequately trained? Are there livable wages? As you know, we were very involved in the minimum wage raise last year. So a lot of this is about the core issues, I think, which are economic issues facing many of the people in our district. So to me, on the labor end, it's to make sure that the government is doing its part in trying to enforce and create laws that allow people to have livable wages and really survive in this economy, which is still a very tough economy. On the workforce development side, we have great entities around the state, our career centers, our tech schools, our community colleges, and our workforce investment boards. But we could still do a better job coordinating the efforts between all of those entities and making sure that the gap between the need for skilled workers and the skills that workers have is met, because about half of the unemployed people in this state could be employed with adequate training. So we know that there's a demand for skilled workers, and we know there are unemployed folks. So workforce training is really a key in closing that gap.
Absolutely, to make sure that that those jobs that are waiting for employees, that there are employees and well-trained people ready to take that, certainly could make a difference here on the Cape. Now, of course, you know, as we've been talking, as you know, and as I know, that the development of good jobs here on Cape Cod is certainly an issue that continues on, and I would assume that that's something that, again, you'd want to focus on as you continue chairing this committee.
Well, yeah, and I would have to do a shout out for the folks here on the Cape Cod, both from our tech schools, our community colleges, and as I said, the career centers here. The community college specifically has great courses in hospitality, in renewable energy. They've got a nurse and dental assistant program there. They're working to start, near and dear to my heart, a program to train aircraft mechanics and technicians. There's about a shortage of 300,000 good trained technical workers in the aviation field, and the college a couple of years ago has started working towards a field there, curriculum there to train and certify mechanics. So I think that we have really good entities here on the Cape that are really responding to what the needs of employers are. As you know, Bridgewater College, Bridgewater State, is starting a 4-year program down here this year. So, I mean, I think we're fortunate on the Cape here. It is, like a lot of things at the state level, underfunded at this point. The main grants come through what's called the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund, which was originally set up about 7 years ago and funded with about $12 million. Since then, only $5 million has gone into it total. So one of the things I'm going to be working hard on is to fund that program. That program supports programs between private employers and community colleges to actually set up training. It's a great program administered by the Commonwealth Corporation, and from a workforce training standpoint, we're going to try to get some more resources to that because it's proven to be very successful.
Now, speaking of community colleges, we have all heard in the news recently that the President of the United States is considering a plan to fund community college education for people here in the U.S. What's your take on that plan and its feasibility of actually getting off the ground?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because before all this happened, and as you know, they announced in Tennessee and the president went there, But I had a meeting up in Boston with Elizabeth Warren a couple years ago to talk about both federal and state legislative initiatives. And she and I discussed whether Massachusetts could do that. And as a result of that, I actually filed legislation as part of the legislative package last Friday when the bill filing deadline happened. We filed legislation to provide free tuition to all Massachusetts eligible residents for our community colleges. So I'm very supportive of that. We did file the legislation. Obviously, the key there is going to be finding the funding. But I very much support that, and I think it's a wonderful initiative to support future generations here in Massachusetts. So I'm definitely working on that.
Sure, and whether or not they choose to go to the kind of workforce aspects that the college offers, whether it be those nursing, dental hygiene, renewable energy, et cetera, or take that as the stepping stone to go on. Certainly, again, we really are learning that you need to have that secondary education in order to be able to find a job and be successful in this day and age.
Well, and more beyond that, I think the community colleges are more and more filling the responsibility of training citizens, not only training people to fulfill workforce opportunities, but also training citizens to understand civics. So I'm a big proponent of the liberal arts side of our community colleges too, which they do a great job at. So the neat thing about going to a community college versus a vocational tech school where you're only learning a trade is that not only do you learn a trade at a community college, but you have access to liberal arts, history, government, English, creative side, arts, and all that stuff that is really important to us having a well-rounded citizenry that can participate in our democracy. So huge supporter, and hopefully we'll be able to find the money. I think it'll be a great initiative in Massachusetts.
So, Senator Wolf, you will find out, as you said, tomorrow whether or not you will continue to lead the committee. If it is decided that you're not the chair, are you still going to be a part of this committee and still be something that obviously you're going to focus on?
Oh, sure. I mean, because of my private sector experience and because of my 4 years chairing that committee, I really do understand and know the issues, and certainly will continue to participate. Sarah, I also requested another committee, steering and policy in the Senate. And maybe in a future discussion, if I get that, we'll talk about what that means too. But my ask this year is for 2 committees, and hopefully I'll get to.
Great. Well, I look forward to talking a little bit about both of those committees and more with you here on the show. Dan, I thank you so much, as always, for joining us on Barnstable this morning.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cape and Islands State Senator Dan Wolf joining us as he does every other Thursday. Of course, we have revamped our schedule.